I am Lauren Stein. I'm the implementation manager over here at Alterity, and today we're going to be going over business alerts from reminders to inventory management. So what are business alerts? The Business Alerts window is one of ACCTivate's decision support tools, which alerts users of issues such as at-risk deals, customer service issues, low stock, or any other item needing immediate attention. This utility helps you react both quickly and efficiently to changing conditions in your business. It also helps in documenting conversations, actions taken, and commitments made to customers, vendors, and other actors in the life of your business. The information available includes everything from reminders to credit status and collection promises from a particular customers to inventory management. Managers or users with permissions can view others' alerts and assign alerts to others. This is a one-stop shop for reminders, credit, sales order, purchasing, and inventory management. And also for customers who use the Web Store module, there's also a Web Store Alerts tab. When using business alerts, users can double-click on any of the rows to see the details pertaining to the specific note or document, and this goes for any of the tabs seen on the business alerts window. So let's start by talking about the first tab in the list, which is reminders. The ACCTivate system allows you to establish reminders for just about any type of activity that you can think of. Best of all, you can establish the specific date that you want a reminder to appear and assign it to a specific user. Reminders are set on the Notes tab for any window within the program. And you can link documents like customer, product, sales orders, purchase orders, and business activity windows via the Notes section. Users can see who added the note, as well as who it's assigned to and what date it needs to be handled by. The note itself can be any number of characters to ensure you can give the full picture of what needs to occur. On the Reminders tab of the Alerts utility, users can filter based on type of note, due date, and who the note is assigned to. The ability to see other users' notes is configured during the user setup in the inbox section to view reminders for everyone, and you can set that permission to yes or no. Once the user completes the follow-up, they will need to check the completed box on the far left-hand side, as you can see there on the screenshot. And then once you've completed it, you just refresh the list to see what's left to follow up on. Next, we have the Credit Management tab. This tab of the business alerts is used for tracking credit-held customers' overdue and disputed invoices. The credit-held customers will show up based on the credit restrictions set up in Configuration Manager under Customer Options. The administrator can specify a grace period for denying credit for overdue invoices, set a specific limit per customer, specify whether a zero limit indicates no pre-approved credit, include open sales orders or any unbilled time and materials in the credit evaluation, and any overdue invoices will automatically appear in the middle tab of the credit management screen. These are shown based on the due date specified on each invoice. Also, you can view any invoices currently in dispute on the far right tab of the credit management screen. These are specified on the invoice screen when you actually view the invoice by checking the in dispute checkbox next to the order number. The system administrator can block access to this tab by changing the customer permission for credit information to not allowed rather than view only or maintain. Next up, we have the Sales Order Management tab. This gives you access to all quotes, sales, or service orders from this specific Sales Order Management tab of the Business Alerts window. If the user is a salesperson, their window will default to orders linked to their name. The other filters available are type, which is based on document status, which is open, scheduled, backordered, completed, canceled, etc. There's even a filter available to show orders with backordered items, which could be a status of scheduled or backordered on the sales order depending on whether or not there are related invoices. Because in ACCTivate, an order status is set to backordered only when you've created an invoice and there are backordered items remaining. The due date pulls from the promised date or the requested date on the order, depending on which one has a set value. Users can set this filter to anytime, due on or before, due after, or overdue dates. When utilizing the workflow status on the sales order, users have the ability to filter the sales order management tab based on specific values for workflow. This comes in handy definitely when you're using this window to schedule your orders. If the user has access, they can also filter on salesperson. The order scheduling tool is new to version 9.0 and is extremely useful. You are now able to either select all or specific orders based on those filters to schedule the item based on current availability. We've set up a color scheme similar to traffic lights for ease of use. The green lights are orders with lines that are all scheduled. The yellow lights are for orders with a mix of scheduled and backordered items. The red lights are orders with all lines set to backordered. And then you just check the box next to each order and press the schedule button to actually schedule the orders based on current availability. Or you can go one by one and check those boxes, or you can check that checked box up at the top to check all, and then you click the same box to deselect all orders. The access to view this tab is set in the order processing section via the customer order permissions, set to not allowed if you don't want your user to access this tab. And then we have the purchasing management tab. As with the sales order management tab, you can view all the purchase orders from this tab. Users are able to filter based on PO status, which ranges from open POs, requests for quote, to open special order POs if applicable, to requests for quote or pending purchase invoices. You can even view completed or canceled POs from this menu. The due date can be filtered on any time, due on or before, due after, or overdue. This pulls from the promised, requested, or not before or after date specified on the PO itself. To open the PO, you can either highlight the row on this window or you can press the View PO button. Users who have view only or maintain access on the purchase order user permission will be able to see this tab for business alerts. So if you wanted to block that, you would set that to not allowed in the user setup. Now we get to the inventory management screen. Now this one is probably going to be the most widely used of all of them because we have the reorder function. So the inventory management tab is, like I said, an extremely useful tool for purchasing. ACCTivate will list any item that's shown as being low in stock. This is calculated based on what's listed on the product window for each warehouse for the reserved, minimum order quantity, minimum stock quantity, maximum stock quantity, and current availability. Make sure to set these values per warehouse. We do have quite a few customers that have multiple warehouse locations, which do require different values for those stock quantities. Available filters for this tab are warehouse and vendor. So specify a particular warehouse as well as a preferred vendor to limit what inventory you're actually going to want to look at here or reorder. The user also has an option to group by vendor. This will group the items based on the preferred vendor selected on the vendor tab of the product window. If there's no preferred vendor, the product will be lumped into a blank vendor group where you can select the vendor to use when in the Reorder Wizard. The Reorder Wizard is very widely used among our customers. It gives users the ability to create purchase orders based on availability, required stocking levels, and preferred vendor information. Clicking the Reorder button will add checkboxes down the left-hand side for users to select which option they wish to order, as well as how many should be ordered. Typically, customers will elect to group by vendor so they can get a good grasp on how much to order for each specific vendor, And then you can select all items listed for the vendor or select specific items by expanding the vendor group and going one by one down the list. We'll definitely go over this in detail during the demo. After marking all selections, the user can choose to create POs, which will create one PO per vendor with all products selected for each one. Like the other tabs, you can restrict access to this inventory management window via the user permissions. The tab itself can be blocked via the inventory product permission, while the reorder functionality can be blocked by the create POs from inventory management alerts permission. Last but not least, we have the web store tab. This is going to be available only for our customers that utilize the web store sync module. And once you have access to this tab gives users access to manage the web store orders which come in with errors or warnings such as payment pending. From this window, you can select a specific order or all orders listed to actually retry the import to see if you can get those to come in. Like the other tabs, you can grant access via the shopping cart permission to allow import or export of all orders. Let's go ahead and get into the actual demonstration. So I've already got the business alerts window open just so you can see how it would look like whenever a user logs in. But let's go ahead and take a look at how do we configure the user permissions for the business alerts menu. So let's go ahead and close this and go into File, Configuration Management, and we'll go into the user specific permissions. I'm logged in as Sys right now, and that's what we're going to be logged in as the whole time. So let's just take a look at this window right here to start. I am assigned as the salesperson of Floyd A. Harris, and that is checked as active. So what that means is that all the business alert windows are going to default to my salesperson record and only show me what is linked to my name rather than showing me everybody. And if your users want to open alerts when logging in, or if they have access to Configuration Manager, if they want it to open after they close Configuration Manager, you do that here at the startup options to open alerts automatically. Okay, and for each specific business alerts tab, we have a permission that you can block the users to access that. So let's start out in the customer information. If you set credit information to not allowed, that will actually block that user's ability to see the credit management tab. So if you don't want them to have access to credit information, then definitely set that information to not allowed and only give the users access that would actually need to see what the credit information is for each customer, the ones that are going to be doing the receivables and collection calls. For the actual reminders, if you want them to view reminders for everyone, that's set in the inbox section. If you only want them to have access to their specific reminders, you set this permission to no. All right, and we're just going to go in alphabetical order here. So if you want to block the inventory management tab, then you would actually set this product permission to be not allowed. And if you set that to not allowed, obviously, that's going to be grayed out the inventory management, and they also won't be able to access the Reorder Wizard. So in the order processing permissions, I know there's a lot of permissions here. If you set customer order to not allowed, this actually blocks access to the sales management tab, and you would just set that to not allowed. And for the Reorder Wizard itself, you would set this create POs from inventory management alerts to no. And also, you can do this purchase order to not allowed, and that will also block the Reorder Wizard. And for the users that have the web store, the shopping cart user permission to import export, you set that to no to block access to that screen on the business alerts. So as I pointed out, this user does open alerts automatically, and you'll see a little bit of that when I close Configuration Manager. It will actually open it up for me. So let's start out by talking about reminders a little bit. As you can see here, there's many types of reminders. You can filter based on those reminders. Let's see, customer account. This is going to be on the customer window. Customer ship to. We actually have a customer notes on the ship to location. We have customer invoice, credit, sales order, purchase order, product, activity. These are all the different windows that you can actually add these reminders to. And like I said earlier, it's going to default to me because I'm marked as a salesperson. I do have access to view everybody's, so I would just set that to anyone if I wanted to check up on anybody else's reminders, or I could just keep it on my name. All right, and then we can also change the due date to anytime, due on or before, due after. We can set that to maybe we only want to see reminders that are on 10/1, and then that'll filter based on the dates, and then you can actually see what window these reminders are set on. So let's go ahead and take a look at the customer ship to. So if you double click on it, then it goes to the ship to tab, and this is actually the note that we had. So let's say as of 11/10, this ship to location is no longer in service. So we wanted to set a reminder for user sys to go back and check this or unmark this ship to location as being active as of that date. And then once they have done that, they would click this checkbox to follow up, hit save, and they can go back to the business alerts window and actually hit refresh. And that would actually take off the ship to follow-up line on that note section. So let's say that, okay, this ship to location is inactive, and then we've got another one as of 11/30/2014 that needs to be followed up by, to say add the next ship to location. And you can see it was added by me, but if you're signed in as a different user, you can assign it to other users, and then you just hit save. And if you go back to the reminder section and hit refresh, now you have this new reminder due on 11/30 for your user. We'll set that back to any time. And also a good note is that when you do go back to anyone, it actually will show you the user that is currently assigned to that reminder. And then if you toggle back to a specific person, that column actually goes away. All right, so the credit management tab. We'll start out by going over the credit held customers tab. This will actually show customers over their set limit as well as ones put on credit hold specifically. We've set a specific limits for particular customers, which we will deny credit for if they cross over. On this window, you can see the credit status, if they're over the limit or if they actually are on credit hold, the customer name, company name, what currency they use, the balance due, also their terms, and then their specified credit limit and salesperson. So you can see that this one obviously is over the limit because their credit limit is $5,000 and their current balance is $51.23. Okay, so let's open Flatland so you can see where to put that customer on credit hold. You can see here on the credit tab of the customer window, we've got this credit hold checkbox, and that is actually how ACCTivate knows whether or not a person's on credit hold. Let's say because they've got this insanely overdue balance, which we don't think that they're ever going to pay, so we don't want to sell them anything anymore, so we actually put them on credit hold and they no longer can order without paying at time of invoice. All right, and on the overdue invoices tab, you can see all the invoices that are overdue based on their due dates, and you can see the actual invoice date as well as the due date on this screen. Currency that they're using, we've got a mix of Euro and USD on here. We've also got the balance of that actual invoice, the company name, the order number. If there's a PO associated with it, let's say if it's a special order or dropship PO, we will see that number there. If I scroll down a little bit, we've got one here. And then you can also see the invoice total, amount paid, and if they actually have a discount on that invoice. So this is a good tool for the people that are going to be doing collections, so they can know which ones to call, and let's say maybe we can figure out if some other customers need to be put on credit hold, because obviously these invoices from 2012, they're probably not going to get paid. They're already 2 years old, and they need to either be written off or you need to contact that customer to get payment for those invoices. All right, and then we've also got disputed invoices. So we've got this list of disputed invoices, and this is actually specified on the invoice window itself. So let's go to these overdue invoices, and I'll show you how to change an invoice to be in dispute. So you can double click on this, or you can click View Invoice. And this actually takes us to the View Invoice screen where you see the detail of the invoice. And then if this customer is saying that this, they don't want to pay this for some reason, maybe they're saying they didn't actually receive these items, but we invoiced them for it anyway. So let's change this to in dispute, which this is the button. It's right next to the order number. And we hit save. And if we close this invoice and we go over to disputed invoices and refresh, that invoice is now shown on here in the disputed invoices section. So this will give you, a glance at all the invoices that are in dispute. So maybe if you need to follow up on them, create some reminders for yourself to follow up on them, this would be a good place to do so, because you can view invoice, you can go to the note section, add a note, and say, maybe by 10/1/2014. We'll say make sure to go over issues with the customer to see if we can get that invoice out of dispute and possibly paid. All right, and then we'll go to the sales order management. Notice that we start out with a salesperson filtered on Floyd Harris. Again, this is the user I'm logged in as, which is also marked as being a salesperson, so it defaults to my name. You can toggle to see all, unassigned, another salesperson's orders. We'll keep it on my name for now. We've also got these available filters for open orders, scheduled orders. If the order itself is on back order, we can see only back orders. If we've got back ordered items on some orders, we can see the orders that have back ordered items listed. It goes all the way down to open quotes, rejected quotes, any canceled quotes, completed or canceled service orders if you're using the service order module. You can change the due date to any time, due on or before, due after. And we can do, let's say, due after 9:30. So this shows us the orders. Let's say we've got this order that's promised as of 10/1, so we want to make sure that it's been shipped and everything's good to go by that time. And then we also got the promise of the end of October. So let's change that back to any time. And then also we've got workflow status. So if you're using the workflow status, let's say if you use the mobile devices, this would be a good tool to maybe schedule orders if you're not using the mobile devices. So, if it's pick in progress, not ready to pick. Obviously this one's not ready to pick because it's all back ordered. So again, the lights here, the green light means that the order is completely scheduled. So let's go ahead and take a look at this order. This one is marked as green. And you can see as on the detail, everything is set to scheduled. There are no back ordered items. So that's why that one is set to green. The yellow one is yellow because it has a mixture of back ordered and scheduled items. So on the detail, you can see it's got a pretty good mix. It looks like about half of the items are on back order and half of them are scheduled. And then we've got the red, which means that all lines on the order itself are set to back order. So both of these lines are back ordered and nothing is scheduled. We'll go over a little bit of the new functionality in both the business alerts as well as on the order itself. So we've got a new reset schedule, which what this does is it schedules based on availability. And I opened one of the orders that had a mix of scheduled and back ordered items, so it was yellow. So let's hit schedule. Oh, it looks like we don't have any items in stock. So let's get one that does. I believe this one. All right, so we'll hit edit, reset schedule, and then as you can see, this one is now scheduled and there's nothing on back order. So let's hit save. This is A1538T. We'll hit refresh. That one is now green. You can also schedule by checking individual orders. So we'll check the back ordered items. Those don't have current availability. And you can also check all orders and then hit schedule, and that'll schedule any order that's selected based on availability. And as you can see, a couple of those went to green and some of them stayed at yellow and red. And again, that's based on the current availability as of the time you're clicking that button. So that's any receipts that have been processed, anything like that. All right, and then again, you can check this to check all, and then check it again to deselect everything. So now we have the purchasing management section. Again, this is so you can take a look at all of your purchase orders, and that goes for completed as well as any open ones. Right now we have it set as open POs and requests. We also have open special order POs, so you can see, what's the status of this open special order PO. You can look at the total amount. The type of order is P because we're using the purchasing wizard. Let's say pending purchase invoices. Now this may actually be a really good tool for some of you that are trying to audit accrued purchase receipts. This is going to list the purchase orders that have been received but are still waiting on invoices. And you can actually see the total amount right there is $27.94. And if we go open this PO, you can see that we've received 10. We haven't invoiced anything, and the Canadian dollar amount is $30, but the US dollar amount is $27.94, and you can toggle that at the bottom if you use multi-currency. So that tells you that accrued purchase receipts will include this $27.94 until you've actually created that purchase invoice. And again, we've got request for quote, pending approval, completed, issued, entered, canceled, and let's go back to open POs. So you can see the purchase order number, the status, the date it was entered, the date it was actually issued to your vendor and ready to receive. If you requested a specific ship date, you can see that requested date here. Also the promise date, if they said that it would be there by a specific date, you'll see that also on the promise date, or the address name of the vendor, the ship to name of your warehouse, the currency this purchase order is ordered in, the total amount of the purchase order. Again, the type standard is going to be something that you just created the purchase order manually. If it's P, that means you use the purchasing wizard. And then we've also got the date completed, who issued it, the vendor contact information, vendor type, all that information from the purchase order. Or we've also got the filter that we can sort based on due dates. So, you can do on or before. So let's do 8/30/2014. Well, we don't have any due on. Let's do after. So that shows you just the ones that are due after the end of August. All right, so now we can talk about the inventory management tab. This enables users to see what needs to be ordered based on the quantities set on each product window, and that's going to be per warehouse. So on this screen, we can toggle between each specific warehouse. So I can look at just what I need to order for Dallas, what I need to order for the Fort Worth warehouse. If I've specified a special order quantity, which isn't really typical, but it's just going to show you a list of all the active warehouses. So let's go back to Dallas. You can also specify a particular vendor that you want to see to order for. So it doesn't look like we have any Adams. I believe I had some for calendar publishing. There we go. So you can see what's just for calendar publishing. You've got a vendor selected and you need to remove that record to see everything. Just highlight it and click delete, and it'll revert back to showing you everything for that specific warehouse if you filtered by warehouse. You can also group by vendor. What this does is group by the preferred vendor specified on the product window. So now we've got this Pocket Calendar preferred vendor is Calendar Publishing, Executive Chair is Carlisle, and so forth. And it just gives you a good view on what we're expecting to order from each of these vendors based on what's selected on the product window. All right, and let's take a look at this product so you can see what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the inventory management quantities. So for warehouse D, we've got on hand of 8, available of -2. That available of -2 is because of this reserved quantity of 10. So you think of reserved as safety stock to always have on hand. So maybe this is a really popular item, so you want to always make sure that you have at least 10 on hand in case somebody comes in on the fly and needs it right now. So you can make sure that you have that in stock for any situation like that. We've also got minimum stock quantity of 100, maximum stock quantity of 500, and minimum order quantity of 100. And so since we've got this reserved of 10 and max stock quantity of 500, if we go back to the inventory management screen, it's actually going to suggest ordering 502. And again, that's because we've got a negative availability of 2, and we don't have anything on a purchase order to say that, we've already ordered a few, so we need to change the suggested quantity. Right now we don't have any, so it's 502. And then we can see for warehouse F, they actually don't have any min or max stock quantities. So you'll see that if I toggle this to F, A121 is not in the list. So if you want to use this reorder function, just make sure to have these values set on each of the warehouses. All right, so let's go back and actually take a look at the Reorder Wizard itself. So how we get there, I'm going to keep it filtered on D just to make it a little bit easier. We'll actually click Reorder. And as you can see, what I was talking about earlier is it puts these checkboxes down the left-hand side for you to actually check to say that you're going to be ordering this. And the majority of people are going to want to group by vendor so they can be creating a purchase order and they know what's being ordered from each specific vendor. So let's start out on the blank section. These are blank because these products actually do not have a preferred supplier selected on the vendor tab of the inventory window. So what you can do for these is you can select, here we'll go ahead and make this screen a little bit bigger. You can select the PO supplier itself, and this is from the vendors that you've purchased from in the past. It's not going to show you the full list of vendors. So we'll select Berkeley Paper, and it's saying the suggested quantity is 502. So if I created a PO for Berkeley Paper right now, it would put 502 as a quantity. But let's say I want to have more than that in stock. I know it said the max stock is 500, but just for demo purposes, we can change it to 600. And then it'll give you a suggested cost of $2.37, and that actually pulls from the vendor price. Or you can specify the cost. Let's say if they're running a deal, that's why we're ordering more today, and the deal is going to be for $2 a piece. So you change that here. And again, you can do that for all of these products. We'll go ahead and select some. All right, and then we'll go into the calendar publishing one. C10 Pocket Calendar has a default vendor or a preferred vendor specified on the vendor tab, so it's going to be grouped with any product that also has calendar publishing as the preferred vendor. Again, it's got the suggested quantity, the PO quantity, which that is actually selected when you check this box that you actually are going to be ordering. It'll fill in the PO quantity and PO cost based on the suggested quantity and suggested cost. And if you wanted to order, you're taking a look at this and you're like, yeah, we need all these items. So you can actually select this box next to Carlisle to order every item that's listed for Carlisle in one click. All right, and then we'll go ahead and minimize these a little bit, and we'll show you the print proof. So you can actually print the inventory reorder proof from this window. and it says that you have to save reorder quantities now to print the report. You click yes, and this shows you all the products that are listed, the warehouse that you're ordering for, the suggested quantity, suggested cost, and what's actually going to be listed on the purchase order itself, as well as the current inventory quantities for that specific product. Alright, and then we'll close this, and then there's also another version of this that groups it by supplier. And now you can see, instead of being grouped by the products, it's actually grouped by each supplier, and it lists what's checked for each of those suppliers on that reorder screen. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and as you can see, before I click Create POs, there is no longer a blank vendor section. And that's because we selected vendors for each of those items that didn't have a preferred vendor. So we'll hit Create POs. It says 5 POs are about to be created, continue. And again, these are the POs that you've selected for these vendors. Hit yes, and it will actually create all 5 of those POs. And now your selections are only going to show you what's left to be ordered based on the stuff that you didn't select previously. And if you go back to purchasing management, you will see those new POs. So we've got these 5 new POs right here. Alright, and then we've got the web store tab. Now I've got a web store in here that I set up for testing for one of our other customers, so I actually do have an order here that we can retry. This order specifically had a payment status of pending. So what you do is you select each order, or you can check this top box to select or deselect. So let's go ahead, and you can either remove the selected, say that you're not going to bring in this order or you want to bring it in another way, or you can click retry import. So let's go ahead and retry it. And as you can see, it's pulling only that order number, and that specific order is still pending payment, so it's not going to bring it in. As always, feel free to check out our help site for further information on business alerts or for any other questions you may have. You can choose from the drop down on the header of the page for, let's say, the getting started, the frequently asked questions, learn ACCTivate for specific sections, or you can actually search in that search here box and press go for specific keywords. And again, that's help.activate.com. So thank you for your time. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation on business alerts from reminders to inventory management, and I hope you have a great day.